Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into Colorado's wrongful death law. We're focusing on the real essentials, the legal must-haves, and that critical timeline.
Right. And fundamentally, a wrongful death here means a death that happened because someone else was negligent or reckless, maybe even intentionally harmful through action or sometimes inaction.
It's a death that just shouldn't have happened, legally speaking.
Exactly. That's the core idea.
Okay, so we know there are usually those four big legal building blocks: duty, breach, causation, damages. In Colorado, which one tends to be the real sticking point in these cases?
Often it comes down to causation, that third element.
Ah.
Yeah, proving the breach of duty wasn't just related to the death, but was the direct proximate cause. That's the hurdle.
Meaning you have to show a clear, unbroken chain from the action or inaction to the result.
Precisely. It needs to be a direct and crucially a foreseeable outcome of that negligence. You can't have big logical jumps.
And these situations, sadly, arise from things we hear about too often, maybe a drunk or distracted driver, a serious medical error like a misdiagnosis.
Or even things like defective products or a workplace ignoring safety rules leading to a fatal accident. The scenarios are broad.
But you mentioned the timeline. Let's talk about that, because our sources really hammer this point for Colorado.
Yes, this is probably the single most critical piece for anyone needing to understand this. The structure and the timeline are incredibly strict.
Okay, so what is it? What's the deadline?
Generally speaking, it's 2 years. 2 years from the date the person passed away. That's the statute of limitations.
And if you miss that 2-year window...
The claim is lost, period. You
Yeah.
can't bring it.
Wow. Okay, 2 years. But I understand it's not just a simple 2-year free-for-all, right? There's a sequence to who can file.
That's right. Colorado law is very specific here. For the entire first year after the death,
Year 1.
only the surviving spouse has the right to file the lawsuit.
Exclusively.
Only the spouse for 365 days. What if there isn't a spouse? Then, during that first year, the surviving children can file. But only if there's no spouse.
Okay, so spouse gets priority 1, children priority 2, but only within year 1 if there's no spouse. What happens when you hit day 366, entering the second year?
Then things change.
Hmm.
In year 2, the eligibility broadens. Now, both the surviving spouse and the surviving children have the right to file. They can file concurrently.
So it opens up in the second year. What about parents? When do they potentially come into play?
That's really the last resort. Only if there is no surviving spouse and no surviving children, then the deceased person's parents might be eligible to file.
It's a very structured hierarchy then.
Very. You have to follow that sequence and timing.
Okay, let's say a family navigates that complex timeline and eligibility. What are they actually seeking? What kind of compensation or damages can be recovered?
Well, damages generally fall into two main buckets. First, you have economic damages.
Like the tangible stuff?
Exactly. Medical bills leading up to the death, funeral and burial costs, and often the most significant part, the loss of future income and benefits the person would have earned.
That sounds complex to calculate.
It is. It often requires experts, like economists or actuaries, to project those future losses accurately.
Okay, that's economic. What's the other bucket?
That's non-economic damages.
Yeah.
This is about the intangible human losses.
Things like grief.
Yes, grief, sorrow, emotional distress. Also, the loss of companionship, guidance, advice. The relationship itself that's been lost. It's harder to put a number on, but it's a very real, recognized loss.
Makes sense. Now, what about punitive damages? We hear that term thrown around.
Punitive damages are different. They aren't really about compensating the family for loss.
They're about punishment.
Exactly. They're meant to punish the defendant for really bad conduct, specifically willful, wanton, or reckless behavior. Basically, a conscious disregard for others' safety.
So not awarded often?
No, they're pretty rare. The standard of proof is quite high.
Okay. So once a claim is filed, following all these rules, what does the process look like? Is it quick?
Definitely not quick. It can be a long road. A major phase is called discovery.
Discovery? What happens there?
That's where both sides gather evidence from each other. It involves written questions called interrogatories, requests for tons of documents.
Sounds intensive.
It is. And crucially, it involves depositions. Yeah. That's where witnesses, parties involved, give sworn testimony under oath outside of court, but it's recorded.
Like a formal interview.
A very formal recorded interview, yes.
Yeah.
It's all about uncovering the facts before you potentially get to a trial. It's rigorous.
So to wrap this up, it sounds like the absolute non-negotiables are that strict 2-year timeline.
Absolutely paramount.
And understanding that specific sequence of who can file and when, get that wrong, and you might lose your rights entirely.
That's the critical takeaway. Timing and eligibility sequence are everything in Colorado for these cases.
And maybe a final thought for you, our listener. Pursuing one of these claims, it's obviously about seeking financial support after a devastating loss. But there's maybe another layer too, using the civil justice system for accountability. It can hold responsible parties accountable and, maybe even push for changes that prevent similar tragedies down the road. Something to think about.